When I was 19, Erick coaxed me into sleeping with him. That was when we officially started dating. But the very next day, when I returned to school early, I heard his lazy voice, tinged with disdain, from inside the classroom. Carolina? It was just a bet. Did she really think I'd like a bookworm like that? Not only that, he and his friends even discussed what I was like in bed. Outside the door, I lowered the hand that had been about to push it open. I didn't cry. I didn't make a scene. Later, Erick continued living a life of indulgence, flirting ambiguously with countless people around him. But I never got jealous. I always stayed quiet, playing the role of the perfect girlfriend. Our friends all praised me for being generous and understanding. Even Erick thought so. Until one Valentine's Day, he accidentally saw an old photograph I had carefully kept. The boy in the picture looked 70% like him, but had a tear-shaped mole at the corner of his eye. That day, I calmly watched the playboy lose his mind. He smashed half the house. That's right. The truth was, I had never loved him. Never. Chapter 1. I had always known that Erick chose me to be his girlfriend because I was obedient, sensible, and easy to control. Of course, the most important reason was I was well-behaved. For example, right now, I was standing behind the half-closed classroom door, listening to the boyfriend who had only confirmed our relationship yesterday openly mocking me. Yeah, I slept with her, but she's boring. Not fun at all. My footsteps stopped. In my hand, I was still holding the warm breakfast I had brought for Erick. Then someone inside asked, "Erick, so how does it feel to sleep with the top student, the perfect little good girl of the grade?" Erick only had 2 words to describe it: a block of wood. The classroom instantly burst into laughter. The boy leading the group laughed even louder. Pfft, ha ha ha. I told you, good girls are all like that. They look exciting from afar, but once you get them, it's boring. Erick really saw right through it. Don't forget to split the money you won from the bet. Oh, right. I almost forgot. Erick had even made a bet with them about whether he could trick me into sleeping with him. $500. Not a small amount. I curled my lips into a faint smile. The early summer morning breeze carried a trace of coolness, brushing against my ankles. Yet it couldn't disperse the heat rising from the boys' laughter spilling through the crack of the door. My arms slowly lowered. I didn't push the door open, and I didn't cry or cause a scene. I simply loosened my grip, then slowly threw the breakfast I had brought for Erick, the still steaming custard buns he had casually mentioned craving yesterday, into the trash can. Chapter 2. In the scorching summer after the college entrance exams, I ultimately did not apply to the same university as Erick. The reason was simple: he didn't want me too close to him. He said that would make him feel like he had no freedom. I agreed. After entering university, Erick was still the same Erick, admired and surrounded by attention. There was never a shortage of girls around him, and his ambiguous relationships changed more frequently than his clothes. At gatherings with his friends, someone clueless would occasionally joke in front of me. "Erick, got a new girl again? Aren't you afraid your girlfriend will get jealous?" At moments like that, Erick would usually lean lazily against the sofa, idly twirling a strand of my hair between his fingers, smiling with careless confidence. She's very obedient. She wouldn't. When he said those words, there was a certain pride and certainty in his tone, as if no matter how outrageous he behaved, no matter how excessive he went, I would never leave him, and I would lower my head at just the right moment, revealing a perfectly timed smile, slightly shy, gentle, and compliant, silently agreeing with everything he said. Yes, I was obedient. So when Erick stayed up all night playing games, I organized his notes and highlighted the key points for him. When Erick got injured in a fight, I silently applied medicine to his wounds. When Erick got drunk and called me in the middle of the night, I would go pick him up without complaint and clean up the mess he left behind. Even when photos of him entangled with other girls were posted on the campus forum, and my friends angrily showed them to me, I would simply swipe past them and say lightly, "They're probably just friends." Erick knows his limits. "Carolina, are you stupid?" My friends would protest on my behalf. They said Erick was notorious for his reckless romantic life. Was I stupid? I lowered my head and rubbed the edge of the old photograph tucked inside my phone case. I said nothing. But the turning point came in my 3rd year. This time, Erick's ambiguous partner was a little different. It was said she was the campus beauty of University A who had just returned from abroad. Regina. She was also my younger sister. The fake heiress my entire family cherished like a treasure. The moment she returned, she sent me a message. In the photo, Erick was drunk, leaning against her shoulder. Soon after, another message arrived. Sister, I'm back. You've occupied my things for so long. Isn't it time you returned them to me? Chapter 3. By the time I arrived at the private room, the atmosphere had already reached its peak. Regina was wearing a white evening dress. Everyone present was there to welcome the second young lady back. It hadn't been long, but I noticed that on Erick's wrist. He was already wearing a matching couple bracelet identical to Regina's. Oh, sister-in-law is here. One of Erick's buddies noticed me and called into the room. Erick, sister-in-law came to take you home. I pushed through the crowd and found Erick in the noisy corner of the private room. He was drinking with several of his friends. The corners of his eyes and brows tinged with the spirited, slightly drunken confidence unique to young men. The light swayed, falling on the bridge of his straight nose and the smiling line of his lips. For a fleeting moment, his profile looked extremely similar to another person. My heart suddenly tightened. Then came a dense, sharp pain. Come home with me, Erick. My voice was very soft. So soft that Erick didn't even lift his head. Instead, Regina, who was sitting beside him, stood up. She stood in front of me, smiling with her eyes curved like crescents. Long time no see, sister. The moment I saw Regina, I felt annoyed. So annoyed that I wanted to slap her twice. Hard enough that she would never smile again. Rarely. My expression turned cold. The words slipped out before I could stop them. Get out of my way. It was a very rude sentence. Yet it still didn't wipe the fake smile off Regina's face. Is sister angry because Erick and I are wearing matching bracelets? Under the dim yellow light of the KTV, she spoke loudly enough for everyone to hear. But what can we do? We're childhood sweethearts. Does sister really think that a halfway girlfriend like you, someone who appeared out of nowhere, can compare to the bond we've had for over 10 years? Yes. Before I was found and brought back home, Erick and Regina were the real childhood sweethearts. So whenever something happened, Erick would always stand on Regina's side without hesitation. This time was no exception. He stood up from the sofa and patted Regina on the head. Though it sounded like scolding, his voice was gentler than I had ever heard before. All right. Stop talking. Then the man looked at me. Carolina, don't argue with her. Regina has been spoiled. Regina pouted, humming twice in grievance. Erick. Then she leaned straight into Erick's arms. Suddenly, the scene before me felt extremely unpleasant to look at. So unpleasant that I wanted to kill someone. Erick could date anyone he wanted. But Regina, she was the one person he couldn't. So I picked up an empty wine bottle. For the first time, I forgot to maintain the obedient woman persona I always showed in front of Erick. The bottle smashed against the wall right beside her face. Regina's lips instantly turned pale with fright. She was the little princess of the family, pampered since childhood. Whatever she wanted, she got. Except for me. When had she ever encountered someone who dared to offend her? Seeing things escalate, the friends around us quickly rushed over and grabbed me, trying to calm me down. Sister-in-law, it's not that serious. Really, Erick just treats her like a younger sister. This was the first time I had publicly confronted someone who had an ambiguous relationship with Erick. They all thought I was just jealous, that I was targeting Regina out of jealousy. Across the crowd, I saw Erick tending to Regina's injury. Not even once did he look at me. Chapter 4. After the gathering at the KTV ended, several people sent Regina to the hospital. Erick was too drunk to go with them, so I waited in the driver's seat, waiting to bear Regina's anger for hurting her. But someone arrived even faster than Erick. My mother. We usually don't contact each other even once a year, unless her precious daughter has suffered some grievance because of me. I turned on the speakerphone and casually tossed the phone onto the passenger seat, already expecting what was coming. Sure enough, furious shouting burst out from the other end of the call. You little bastard! Did you bully Regina again? The woman who always appeared noble and gentle in public was now shrieking like a shrew, her sharp voice full of curses. You sinful little bastard! Why don't you just die? I'm telling you, no matter what tricks you play, we will never spare you a second glance. No one in this family likes you. Vicious, arrogant, ill-tempered. The biggest mistake I made in my life was giving birth to you. I will never acknowledge you as my daughter. You will never compare to Regina. I listened quietly, listening to the person in this world who was tied to me by blood-spewing venomous words. I didn't argue. In the end, it was Erick outside the car window who couldn't bear it anymore. He got into the car and pressed the button to hang up. His expression was unpleasant, as if he felt indignant on my behalf. You're just going to let them insult you like that? I remember. Regina was the one who got switched at birth, right? That's right. Many years ago, in the infant nursery of the Imperial Capital Hospital, a nanny had picked up the wrong baby. Regina was taken home, and I was taken to Jiangqing. It wasn't until just before I entered high school that my grandfather found me and brought me back. I knew very well that none of my real relatives welcomed my return. In fact, I hadn't wanted to come back either. My days in Jiangqing had been ordinary, but happy. However, my grandfather said that letting one of the family's bloodlines wander outside was unacceptable, so I was forced to return to the capital. Carolina? Carolina! Erick's dissatisfied voice pulled me back to reality. I said calmly, "It's fine, I'm used to it." I had long accepted that my mother didn't love me. It didn't matter. After all, I didn't love her either. What Regina didn't know was that during our teenage years, when she occasionally flaunted the motherly love she received in front of me, I never envied it. Not even a little. Erick's Adam's apple bobbed. I thought he was about to scold me too. Instead, he said, "I'm sorry. I didn't know before that your situation at home was this difficult." Erick had always assumed that since I was the biological child, even if my family couldn't treat us equally, they wouldn't treat me too badly. How ironic. I couldn't bear Erick's sudden concern and let out a sigh. "If you want to scold me, just do it." Did he always offer a sweet word before insulting someone? Erick narrowed his eyes. "Why would I scold you?" I stayed silent. It was obvious. I had hurt his childhood sweetheart. Just as Regina said, I didn't believe that a girlfriend who had appeared halfway like me could compare to the bond they had shared for more than 10 years. Inside the cramped car, we stared at each other for a long time. In the end, Erick couldn't hold it in first. He laughed. He looked pleased, perhaps because he was too drunk to think clearly. "Carolina, actually, I'm really happy today." The alcohol was hitting him hard. After saying that, Erick collapsed onto the passenger seat. "You got jealous for me." The playboy who was always arrogant and untouchable now muttered with flushed cheeks. "You've never been jealous because of me. No matter what I did. You never got angry. Your love was too perfect. It made me feel like I was wearing a mask, like it wasn't real." My heart trembled. Erick looked at me again, his eyes soft and lingering, the tenderness in them almost drowning. "That's great, Carolina. You finally got jealous because of me." I lowered my gaze, remaining completely still, avoiding his eyes. How could Erick know that I had come today to break up with him? Chapter 5. Perhaps because of the hangover, Erick woke up the next day with a terrible headache. Not long after, he developed a fever. I didn't leave. Instead, I simply stayed at his place so I could take care of him more conveniently. Every day he held my hand and refused to let go. Obviously, this wasn't the right moment to break up. The words I wanted to say kept getting stuck in my throat. I heard from Erick's friends that this young master had been delicate and pampered since childhood. Now I finally understood what they meant. It was just an ordinary cold. Yet Erick kept relapsing again and again. It took an entire month before he fully recovered. The day he completely got better happened to be the Qixi festival. Erick couldn't sit still for long, so he invited a few close friends to his house to liven things up. They decided to have hot pot. I didn't really have anything to talk about with his friends, and I wasn't fond of noisy gatherings, so I went into the kitchen to help the housekeeper cut fruit. Outside, the room was full of loud chatter and the sounds of people playing video games. Then the doorbell rang. Regina showed up uninvited. Pretending to be sincere, she said to me, "Sister, can't we get along?" As she said those words, her eyes kept drifting toward Erick. I almost laughed in anger. Before I turned 17, I had once hoped to get along peacefully with this so-called sister of mine. I had even tried to please her. But after 17, all I wanted was for her to disappear. My hatred for her was carved deep into my bones. Just being in the same space as Regina was enough to make me uncomfortable, let alone sitting at the same table and eating together. Erick knew that too. But the moment Regina acted cute with him, his heart softened. And maybe it was because Erick had been unusually accommodating to me recently. It made me forget my place. I truly began to think of myself as the woman he loved, acting like the rightful girlfriend, refusing to back down, until Erick reminded me in front of all his friends, with a calm and patient tone, "Carolina, this is my house, just one step away." He stood before Regina with a faint smile. The intention to protect her was obvious. Right. I almost forgot. This was Erick's house. What right did I have to tell his childhood sweetheart to leave? I reminded myself of something. The Erick who had a fever and drank too much was not the same Erick who was sober now. The former might have been confused enough to feel a little pity for me. But the latter? He was just playing around. That was fine. Just playing around. And now, I was tired of playing too. Chapter 6. I picked up my coat and prepared to leave. One of Erick's close friends immediately stepped in to smooth things over. All right, sister-in-law. Erick didn't mean to argue with you. It's just one more person at the table, one more pair of chopsticks. He leaned close to my ear, trying to persuade me to stay. Don't go, sister-in-law. Erick even prepared a surprise for you for dinner later. I didn't respond. Oh, well then, thanks to him, I guess. Seeing that I was leaving, Erick looked at me from afar, his face dark. Regina is still young. Do you really have to argue with her? Your family treated you badly, so now you're taking it out on Regina and making things difficult for her? As he said that, Regina hid behind him, looking pitiful and wronged. I really couldn't be bothered to look at her pathetic expression, so I turned around, without the slightest hesitation. But when I was leaving, I accidentally bumped into someone. It hurt. My phone fell to the ground. Along with it fell an old photograph, its edges worn soft from being rubbed over and over. The photo slid out and landed right beside the person's feet. Not knowing what had just happened inside the room, he picked it up and looked at it, then immediately shouted teasingly, "Hey, Erick, when did you take such an innocent photo? Nice angle. Your girlfriend must treasure it." I couldn't stop him. The photo was passed around from hand to hand, accompanied by whistles and teasing laughter. Thinking this was the perfect chance to reconcile us, Erick's friend quickly snatched it back and presented it to him. "Look at that. Your girlfriend really cares about you." Erick looked annoyed by the noise, but it was obvious he was in a good mood. He curled his lips and laughed lightly. What nonsense. But halfway through his sentence, his voice abruptly stopped. In the photo, under the shade of a plane tree, a young boy in a clean white shirt leaned casually against a bicycle. His features were handsome and refined. He tilted his head slightly toward the camera, smiling. Sunlight fell gently across his body. The tenderness of the moment was almost unreal. Those eyebrows, that outline, even that casual posture with a hint of rebellious charm, all looked strikingly similar to Erick. But it clearly wasn't him. The only difference was the tear-shaped mole at the corner of his eye. Chapter 7. Erick froze in place. His eyes locked onto me standing at the entrance. His voice was dry and hoarse, trembling slightly in a way even he didn't notice. "Carolina, who is this?" The living room suddenly fell silent. Everyone sensed the strange tension in the air. I walked over and calmly pulled the photograph from his hand. "A friend. A friend?" Erick's voice suddenly rose, as if he had just heard the greatest joke in the world. His eyes turned red instantly. He grabbed my wrist, his grip so tight it felt like my bones might break. "You think I'm a fucking idiot? Who is this guy? Why are you hiding his photo? Tell me." With a sudden burst of strength, he slammed me hard against the wall. The impact forced a muffled groan from my throat. How ugly. Erick. So irrational. So undignified. It didn't look like him at all. The man in front of me seemed stabbed by the disappointment in my gaze. "Who are you looking at?" "I'm talking to you. Carolina. Who the hell are you seeing through me?" Perhaps Erick had already guessed the answer. That was why he was roaring like a madman, completely out of control. He swept his arm across the coffee table, knocking all the cups and fruit plates to the floor. In an instant, the living room was in chaos. He smashed half the house, but no one dared step forward to stop him. No one dared stop Erick in his rage, and I simply stood there calmly, watching him lose his mind, watching his face twist with fury and jealousy, a face that looked 70% like the boy in the photograph. I waited quietly, waited until he had smashed enough, until he was panting heavily, chest heaving like a trapped beast standing before me. Only then did I pull back my wrist, now bruised purple from his grip. I lowered my head and gently blew on the red marks. Then I looked up. My voice was soft as a feather, yet sharp enough to slice him apart. Erick, you didn't really think I was with you because I liked you, did you? Chapter 8. I think Erick and I were never really good people. He chose me as his girlfriend just for fun, and I treated him as a substitute. For the last time, I lifted my hand and gently touched Erick's eyebrows and eyes with a lingering gaze, as if, through him, I could see the person in my heart who would never return. It's not so bad. Haven't we just been taking what we needed from each other all these years? Don't act like I'm the one who betrayed you, Erick, and don't pretend to be deeply in love in front of me. It's pointless. What was he pretending for? He never liked me that much to begin with. Ever since he entered university, there had always been countless girls around him. If we were just talking about ambiguous partners, Regina probably wouldn't even rank among the first few hundred. Erick bent forward. He looked as if he were in pain, so much pain that he seemed almost ready to kneel at my feet. His voice broke as he repeated, "Carolina, you have no heart. You have no heart." At that moment, the dull booms of Chishi fireworks sounded outside the window. One after another they bloomed across the night sky, their flickering light shining through the glass. And in the sky, I faintly saw my name. The words appeared there, Carolina. Let's get engaged. Chapter 9. Erick's confession was grand. Everyone in our social circle knew about it. That night, many people were discussing it in group chats. Erick had truly fallen this time. The playboy had finally turned over a new leaf for love, but only a few people who had been there knew that he and I had completely broken up. After Chishi, we never contacted each other again. I asked the school for a long leave. I planned to return to my hometown, back to Jiangqing. I had left home at 17. It had been a very long time since I had gone back. But before returning, there was a debt I needed to collect from Regina. Only then could I go meet the person I truly loved, with a clear conscience. Chapter 10. While I was taking a taxi back, Regina's mother called me. Her voice was cold. She said that Grandpa was ill and needed me to come back and see him. Perfect timing. In just 20 minutes, I arrived at the old family residence. I didn't see Grandpa. Instead, the household servant led me straight to the ancestral hall. My so-called mother had 2 people guarding the door. Her makeup was flawless, and her tone left no room for argument. Kneel. Why should I kneel? Of course, it was to apologize to her precious daughter, Regina. I laughed. Kneel to Regina? Was she even worthy of that? Regina walked out from behind the ancestral hall, perhaps because her mother was backing her up. She was no longer afraid of me. Her eyes were full of hatred. It's all your fault. If it weren't for you, Erick wouldn't be ignoring me. Oh, I had heard about it. Ever since that day, Erick hadn't gone back to school. He locked himself in his room and refused to see anyone. Seeing my indifferent expression, Regina bit her lip and demanded, "You're very proud of yourself, aren't you? Erick and I were childhood sweethearts. I was only abroad for 3 years. And you stole him from me, Carolina. Aren't you proud of that? But it's a pity." She showed that smug, unpleasant smile again. Regina had been there on Chishi night as well. Naturally, she knew exactly how to hurt me. My dear sister, no matter how much Erick looks like him, he's still not him. The person you love the most, you'll never get him again. Yes, I would never get him again. Because of Regina's stupidity, she owed me a life. Chapter 11. I was the real daughter of that family. I knew it when I had just entered junior high school. Back then, someone would fly from the capital once every quarter. just to see me. Each time, it was a different person, a secretary, a driver, an assistant, someone like that. My biological parents themselves never came. I admit that I once longed for a mother's love, but after waiting for so long without receiving it, I grew tired and stopped hoping. Instead, I preferred to wait every weekend for Ethan to come back. Ethan was the older boy next door, a police academy student. He was 8 years older than me, yet I never properly called him brother. I always called him by his full name and followed behind him. Ethan, I'm hungry. Ethan, let's go watch the sunset. Ethan, stay with me a little longer. Perhaps because I had so little family fate, having no relatives since childhood, so all I could do was cling to Ethan. The family who had mistakenly taken me home at birth abandoned me when they discovered the mistake. They simply left me in a small town. That was how I ended up being picked up by a kind grandmother who raised me, and that was how I became Ethan's neighbor. But sometimes I suspected that fate simply didn't want me to live peacefully. In the year I entered junior high school, the grandmother who raised me passed away. Once again, I became an orphan. During the darkest time of my life, Ethan took my grandmother's place. He became my family, but he was very busy. After graduating, the number of times he came back grew fewer and fewer. Gradually it went from once a week, to once a month, to once every 6 months. I didn't know exactly what his job was. I only knew that he was doing something very dangerous. Something that could save many families. I behaved well. I didn't disturb him, and I didn't want to become a burden to him. Near the end of my 3rd year of junior high school, Ethan and I had not seen each other for almost a year. A year earlier, he had said he needed to go to the border for a mission. During that year, we couldn't meet, and couldn't even make phone calls. But somehow, he heard that Regina had been bullying me, right before my birthday. He came back. I still remember. It was winter. He arrived carrying a gift for me, his body filled with the chill of wind and snow. The man who had always been gentle and polite, showed a frighteningly cold expression toward Regina, who was just a young girl. He warned her, "Go back and deliver a message to your family. Carolina has someone who cares about her." After Ethan made his stance clear, no one from the Chu family bothered me again, other than occasionally showing off how much her family loved her, how much her parents cherished her. Regina didn't cause me any more trouble. That night, watching Regina return home with a frustrated and humiliated expression, I felt extremely satisfied. See? I wasn't the unwanted child she claimed I was. I had Ethan. He celebrated my birthday with me. He ate birthday cake with me. I closed my eyes and made a wish. I wished that no matter what Ethan did, he would always be safe. I wished that we could celebrate my birthday together every year. Unfortunately, wishes don't always come true. Unfortunately, there was no every year for us. Chapter 12. In the scorching summer at the end of June, I was admitted to the best high school in Jiangqing. As I waited for Ethan to come back so I could share the good news with him, what I received instead was his remains. The memories of that summer have become somewhat blurred after so much time, but I will always remember that several people wearing the same police uniform as him handed me a small box. My Ethan was lying inside it. Later, I learned the truth. Ethan had been working undercover at the border, carrying out a mission to dismantle a criminal network trafficking women and children. He had almost succeeded, but his face was photographed. For undercover agents, the one thing that must never be exposed is their face. I also saw that photograph. It was taken on the day Ethan overcame countless difficulties to return and celebrate my birthday. Regina had come back again. She took the photo. It captured his face, and she posted it on social media. I hated her so much. I wanted to kill. Regina was still staying in Jiangqing for the summer. I kicked open her door, rushed in, and kicked her before grabbing her hair, with a force that felt like it might tear her scalp off. I demanded through clenched teeth, "Why did you take that picture? Regina, I told you not to take photos. Not to take photos." I hated her so much that my entire body was trembling. Ethan's whereabouts had always been top secret. People from the police unit said he was still so young. Yet he had already accomplished many great deeds. But at that time, I was too young. So young that anyone could bully me. So young that I could do nothing to Regina. My family quickly arrived and pulled me away. My beautiful biological mother slapped me across the face and held Regina in her arms, comforting her with concern. As for me, for hitting someone, I was punished to kneel the entire night. Later, when I was 17, my family brought me back from Jiangqing to the capital, and I lost. The only family I had left. After returning, Regina and I became sworn enemies. When my grandfather heard about what had happened, he tried to resolve the conflict and prevent the family from being torn apart. So on the first anniversary of Ethan's death, he made Regina apologize to him, but Regina was unwilling. Looking at Ethan's black and white photograph, she blinked casually and stuck out her tongue. Sorry about that, officer. I shouldn't have taken the photo. Please forgive me. Her tone was playful. There wasn't a trace of respect, not the slightest bit of guilt, for causing someone's death. Chapter 13. Mixed with Madam's screams, people outside were almost breaking the ancestral hall door down, but they still couldn't get in. Right in front of all the ancestral tablets, I pinned Regina down. Bang, bang. I forced her to slam her head against the ground 3 times, each time harder than the last. She screamed in pain, but hearing it only made me feel better. This is what you owe Ethan, Regina cursed viciously, her mouth filthy with insults. Carolina, a man who's been dead for so many years and you still treasure him like. Before she could finish, I slapped her. If she said another word, another slap followed. Smack after smack. I don't even know how many times. Her face swelled from the blows before she finally went quiet. Her mother, watching from the side, almost fainted on the spot. She raised her hand to slap me, but before it could land, my chilling gaze stopped her. I grabbed her arm, my eyes dark and cold. If you don't want to die, then get the hell out of the way. I shoved her aside. She collapsed to the ground, crying about the family's misfortune in front of the ancestral tablets. I grabbed Regina by the hair again, forced her to change direction, and slammed her head against the floor 3 more times. Calmly, I said, "You don't know how to raise your daughter, so I'm helping you do it." I had never forgotten the hatred from when I was 17, but now, I was no longer the girl people could bully and shape however they liked. What Regina owed Ethan, I would collect personally. I kept forcing her to bow, making her forehead hit the floor again and again with heavy thuds. Blood had already streamed down her face, but I still didn't stop. Her mother couldn't save her precious daughter and gnashed her teeth in hatred. "You little bastard. You'll die a horrible death." A horrible death? My hands didn't stop moving, but I had never planned to live anyway. My plan was for Regina to pay a life for a life. That was the only thing I could still do for Ethan. Yes, if she died, I could go find Ethan. Life was so boring. Every day without Ethan was unbearably dull. Regina realized that I might have truly gone mad when the knife was pressed against her neck. Only then did she feel fear. She stammered, "I was wrong. I was wrong. I'll apologize. I'll apologize to Ethan, Carolina. Don't kill me, please. I want to live." I sneered. She wanted to live. Did others not want to live? But in the end, I didn't do it. The knife fell to the floor. Because Regina said, Ethan would be disappointed. Chapter 14. After Ethan died. Before returning to the capital, I had thought about dying together with Regina. One of Ethan's teammates saw through my thoughts. He shook his head. Then he told me what Ethan had said before he left. When they arrived to rescue him, there was almost not a single piece of uninjured flesh left on his body. But he still left one message. He told them to tell me not to hold on to hatred, and to live my own life. Ethan's teammate said that I still had a wonderful life ahead of me, and that I shouldn't waste it on a piece of trash, even if I killed Regina. So what? Carrying a life on my back, that was not something Ethan would want to see. The door was finally broken open. A flood of people rushed inside. Family members, police officers, and Erick. My biological mother insisted that this was not a private family matter, and could not be settled quietly. I was taken away, on suspicion of attempted murder, detained, Chapter 15. The detention period was very short. Only 3 days. My defense lawyer told me that for some reason, that family had suddenly backed down and decided not to pursue the case. When I walked out of the police station, the streets of the capital were covered with fallen phoenix tree leaves. Another autumn had arrived. Erick was waiting outside. In just a few days, he had lost a great deal of weight. Carolina, he called. I didn't look at him. I walked straight ahead without glancing sideways. Stop coming to see me. As I passed him, Erick grabbed my arm. I never agreed to break up. I turned my head slightly. So? He should have known long ago about Ethan and me. He also knew that the obedient version of me beside him had all been an act, just so that, in the middle of the night, I could find a little comfort, just like when I was 19. When Erick coaxed me into bed, he said he wanted me, but in my eyes, the person I saw was Ethan. However, choosing to numb myself like that was not an easy path. Carolina, these past few days, Erick finally seemed to surrender. His voice was hoarse, and his face carried a humility I had never seen before. I don't want to break up, even if I'm just a substitute. He forced the words out with difficulty. A substitute is fine. Stay by my side. Let's not break up. Honestly, I didn't like seeing Erick lower himself like this with that face. It made me uncomfortable. I stepped back 2 paces, creating distance between us. I lifted my finger and lightly tapped the corner of his eye. There's no tear mole here. The meaning was clear. Erick, in the end, was not him. Even Regina understood. No matter how similar, he was still not the same person. I couldn't keep deceiving myself anymore. There was no point. Truly, aside from that face, Erick resembled him in no other way. His personality, his manner of speaking, not a single similarity. The young man's face turned pale, as if he couldn't believe that even after humbling himself this much, I still wouldn't accept him. I sighed. Go back, Erick. We're finished. I'm tired of this. A light autumn rain began to fall over the capital. The 2 of us stood in the rain, both looking rather miserable. Erick staggered slightly, but still unwilling to give up. He asked, Carolina, in these past years, was there ever even the slightest bit? No. Before he could finish, I answered. I knew what Erick wanted to ask. No, not even a little. If it weren't for that face that resembled Ethan by 70%, I would never have had the slightest involvement with a playboy like him. The rain grew heavier. Erick released my hand, the corner of his eyes turning red. Carolina, you're ruthless. Chapter 16. I stayed at home for a few days. After packing my things, before leaving the capital, I went to the school once more, to withdraw from school. The reason I gave was health problems. I could no longer continue my studies. My counselor shook her head with regret, then reminded me, take care of yourself. Make sure you look after yourself. I answered sweetly. I will take care of myself. Take care of myself well, so I can go find my lover. Every day without him has been unbearable. The person who should apologize has already apologized. What Regina owed Ethan, I've already taken back for him. At last, I can go see him without any attachment left behind. When the time comes, I'll tell him in heaven that I miss him very much. Chapter 17. I left, leaving the capital, and after 5 years, I stepped once again onto the land of Jiangqing. In those 5 years, I had not returned even once, nor did I dare to think about Ethan. Instead, I numbed myself, staying by Erick's side the whole time, deceiving myself, as if by doing that, I could prove that he wasn't dead yet, that he hadn't left me. I'm sorry, Ethan. Will you blame me? Chapter 18. I came to see Ethan, not knowing what flowers to bring. I held a large bouquet of peonies. In the black and white photo, his face was resolute, young beyond reason. I joked, Ethan, you'll never grow old. After brushing the dust off the tombstone, I simply sat down on the ground, leaning against the gravestone, against the one I loved, and began to ramble. These past 5 years, I've been doing pretty well. I've grown taller. And I'm not picky about food anymore. No one in that family bullied me. They've actually treated me quite well. I'll tell you a secret. 2 days ago, I got into a fight and ended up at the police station. But don't be angry. I was completely fine. I didn't let myself suffer any loss. Ethan, can you believe it? I'm not someone who can't live without you. In these years without you, I've been doing great. As I spoke, tears fell. I raised my hand to wipe them away. I'm not crying. I'm really not. It's just the wind. I tried hard to hold back my tears, but it was useless. Fine. I gave up and admitted it. I actually do miss you a little. Just a tiny bit. That night, I secretly burned the psychological treatment records from the past few years. I couldn't bring those with me to heaven. If Ethan saw them, he would feel heartbroken for me. Chapter 19. After returning from the cemetery, in the early hours of the morning, I developed a slight fever. I never thought I would see Erick again. That very night, the young man chased all the way to Jiangqing. He looked exhausted from travel. The moment I saw him, I froze. I couldn't believe it. At the corner of his eye, there was now a tear mole. Erick didn't say anything. He simply stood there quietly. And for a moment, I almost felt as though someone from my memories had come back. Carolina. Tears fell from my eyes, followed by a long, heavy sadness. Why go this far, Erick? Why degrade yourself like this? Besides, there are many things that hurt even more, precisely because we know they're impossible. Erick didn't say anything else. He simply sat by my bedside. Let me stay with you a little longer, Carolina. I remained silent. What was the point? It was already too late. Chapter 20. That night, perhaps because of the medicine I had taken, I drifted in and out of consciousness. Half asleep, half awake, but every time I woke, I could feel Erick holding my hand, talking nonstop. He accused me of withdrawing from school without saying a word, accused me of breaking up with him unilaterally, accused me that in all these years, I had truly been so heartless as to feel not the slightest bit of real affection for him. I could hear Erick's deepest sigh. Carolina, you won't even give me the chance to be a substitute anymore? I'm very much like him now. I frowned slightly, thinking that perhaps I should say sorry to Erick, but I couldn't wake up. I had a very beautiful dream. In the dream, it was winter again. Ethan wore his police uniform. There were still unmelted snowflakes on his shoulders. He came back just before my birthday, smiling as he said, "I'm back, Carolina. I'm back." Yes, he came back. This time, he wasn't allowed to leave me alone again. In the distance, the sun began to rise. Ethan was lying. He never came back at all. When morning came, he disappeared. But it didn't matter. I didn't blame him. This time, I could go find him. On my 17th birthday, I lost him. On my 22nd birthday, I would go to him.